gift to Terry, a short reading. She always seems to get the long ones. Larry thinks he does, but he doesn't really. Larry just thinks that they're long. They're not really. Well, this morning, what I have to say this morning, ideally, I would be saying to you next week, since it'll be my last Sunday here for a few months while I'm on sabbatical. But we have something much more exciting and much bigger going on next Sunday, and that is that we are going to be baptizing 4 people, and we're going to be bringing another 6 in addition to those 4 into membership. So next Sunday we'll have 10 new members officially, and that is exciting. And so this morning I want to talk to you. I want to fast forward to next week, and I want you to hear these words as though it were next Sunday morning and you weren't going to see me for a few months. Before anything else, I want to say thank you. Thank you to first of all, to our Zion Church Council. Not only did they make my sabbatical possible, but they also strongly encouraged me to take a sabbatical. It means a lot to serve in a church where leadership understands that rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity, especially when you're in ministry. I also want to thank Reverend Dennis Siebert and Reverend Kay Harding for stepping up to fill the pulpit during 7 of those 14 Sundays that I'll be away. The other 7, I'll be preaching to you indirectly. Somebody will be reading you a sermon that I wrote, or they might not. They may write a message themselves, which will be great. Their willingness to lead is a real gift. And I know that you'll be blessed by the messages that you'll hear, and that you'll be blessed by the presence of different folks in this pulpit for the next few months. Now, you may be wondering, what is a sabbatical? And why am I taking one? I've heard some murmurings and some grumblings and some complainings, and so I want to address that question. To be honest, I, in case you haven't noticed, tend to be a little bit of a workaholic. And my default is to just keep going, to press on, and even when I'm tired, to just keep chugging along and doing what I need to do. But my agreement with Zion, my call letter from 9 years ago, includes the opportunity for a sabbatical every 5 years. Now, I've been with you for just about 9 years, and I haven't taken a sabbatical yet. So that tells me that it's past time. It's needed. But more importantly, Scripture tells us that Sabbath, taking time to rest, time to reflect, time to renew, is not optional. It is a command. God knew that we pastors are, as leaders, get tired and need a little time to step back and to be restored. So what is a sabbatical, really? A sabbatical is not an extended vacation. It is not just for continuing education, to try to gather all the cool information I can and bring it back to the church. It's not just that. And no, it's not a code word for I'm interviewing somewhere else. More on that in a few minutes. A sabbatical is an intentional season of stepping away from your regular pastoral responsibilities for the purpose of spiritual nourishment, perspective, and rest. It's a time to deepen my relationship with God. It is a time to allow for soul-renewing practices like worship, like silence, like journaling, reading, and spending time with my family who often get shortchanged. It is rooted in the biblical practice of Sabbath, a time to cease, a time to rest, a time to reflect, a time to worship, and yes, even a time to play and enjoy. The Resource Center for Pastoral Excellence at Samford University describes it like this, quote, "The average pastoral leader spends 50 to 60 hours each week being a public speaker, a community leader, an administrator, a family therapist, a hospital nursing home chaplain, a wedding and funeral director, an employer, an employee, and I could add a whole lot more to that. I wear a lot of hats. Even family time is often interrupted by a crisis in the life of a church member. All of this leaves little time for personal worship, for spiritual reflection, for extended study, for physical fitness, or simply rejuvenating rest, real rest. In our busy, consumer-oriented culture, experiencing the holiness of time may require the shifting of space for a little while." End quote. With me, those words ring very true. A few more questions that may have crossed your mind. What's going to happen at Zion while I'm gone? Ministry is going to carry on strong. As I said before, Reverend Dennis Siebert will be preaching for 4 Sundays in June. Not the first Sunday, but there are 5 Sundays in June. He'll be preaching the last 4. Reverend Kay Harding will lead worship and will administer communion the first Sunday of each month. She will also be available for any emergencies, and she will also be keeping hours on Friday in the office here. If she's needed, please contact her on Fridays if it's something that's non-emergent. Church Council, I have every confidence, will continue to do as they've always done, and will guide this ministry and carry it forward in my absence. In other words, I think that Zion is going to be just fine. I believe you'll be enriched by hearing God's voice through some different voices, through some different preachers, through some different worship leaders for a little while. What will I be doing on sabbatical? Well, first and foremost, as I said, I'm tired. I'm going to rest. My tank is low. I'll also be doing some things to renew my spirit. I'm going to spend some time in silence and solitude. One of the highlights of my sabbatical will be a silent retreat. In the second week in June, I'll be going to the Gethsemane Monastery in Kentucky, where I will be on a silent retreat. The monks there have sworn a vow of silence, and it's going to be a place where not much talking goes on. There are designated areas where you can talk to the other guests, and there will be a good number of other guests and people that I may meet along the way. But for the most part, this is going to be a time of reflection, a time of reading, a time of studying, and just the place is surrounded by beautiful nature, and I'll have the opportunity to go out and do a little hiking, a little sitting on a bench and listening to the birds sing, that kind of thing. I also plan to visit our Pilgrim Park camp for a week at the end of my sabbatical in order to gather my thoughts and begin to make some plans and some discernment for the future. I plan also to visit Tower Hill at some point. I've never been there, and I want to see the place, and I want to spend some time there. I hear wonderful things about it. Shelley and I will take some day trips with the kids. We'll go to visit family, and we'll go to visit friends. I plan to make a trip out with Jim out to see Craig Hamilton, Jack's son, out in Indiana. We'll be doing some other short vacations. I'll do lots of reading, lots of journaling, and lots of listening for what God has to say to me. I'm praying for a rekindling of the fire within. Will you see me at church during sabbatical? No, you will not. You will see Shelley, you will see Caden, and you will see Camry. But here's why I won't be here. Because once I walk in this building, I'm your pastor. That's not something that I can flip a switch and turn off. Even when I'm sitting in a pew, even when I'm watching how the service is going, and Shelley and I discussed this past week, I'm checking the details. I'm looking around. I'm thinking about what needs to be done and not really focusing on just sitting in the pew and worshiping. Visiting other churches are going to allow me time to do that, to receive, to be spiritually fed without needing to lead or worry about how the service is going and thinking about what needs to be done next. Visiting other churches will also give me the opportunity to just be a Christian sitting in the pew for a little while. Another question that comes up, and I've been asked a couple of different times, is this a setup? Are you getting ready to leave? Well, let me be crystal clear on this one. No. I have no such plans. I'm not going anywhere. I have no intention, no desire to leave Zion. In fact, I tell anyone who asks that when I retire from the ministry, I plan for that retirement to be from this church and nowhere else. Now, let me qualify that by saying that God has pulled the rug out from under me a few times in my life. And I won't guarantee you that that won't happen again. But as far as I can see, I'm staying put here until I retire from full-time ministry. So no, I won't be looking at other churches. I won't be shopping. I won't be interviewing. I just need a break. Why am I really going away for 3 months? Well, somebody said something to me a few months back that really was convicting. It was a simple question in conversation, and they asked me, "What do you do for fun?" I didn't have a good answer to that question. Still don't. Ecclesiastes 10:10 says this: "If the axe is dull and its edge unsharpened, more strength is needed, but skill will bring success." If I don't take some time to sharpen the axe, the work becomes harder and sometimes less fruitful, not just for me, but that's true for all of us. That's why I'm going away, to rest, to reflect, to have fun, to breathe, and to allow God to refresh me. What it means for Zion is that the church continues as it always has. What it means for you, I hope, is that you keep showing up. You keep giving. You keep serving. You keep encouraging, doing the wonderful things you do. You keep loving one another and loving other people. The fact that I can take this sabbatical is a sign of how strong and healthy this church is. I think you're going to be just fine without me. And it will only grow stronger. You watch and see what's going to happen as you rise up and you step in and you be a part, as you always have. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for loving me, Shelley, Caden, and Camry. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. It is a privilege and an honor to be your pastor. I will miss you. I will miss you deeply. But I'm already looking forward to returning this fall with new energy, fresh vision, with renewed joy for the ministry here. At this time, I want to ask you if you have any questions, because there have been questions, and these are some that I've addressed. Do you have any other questions about my sabbatical, about the mechanics of it, whatever you need to know? Ask. So I've been clear enough then. Yes, Dave?
Will the jokes be better?
No.
The jokes will not be better because they can't get any better than my jokes. Maybe they'll be better when I come back. Yeah, that's... Marty thinks I should do a lot of reflection on the jokes. Okay, Marty, I'll keep that in mind. Any other questions? Anybody online have a question? Type it in there quick. If I see something pop up, I'll address it. All right. If you do have other questions, please come and talk to me. Larry. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Thank you for being our minister.
I love it. You know I do. If you do have other questions, come and talk to me or talk to any member of the church council. We're going to meet tomorrow evening and nail down a few details with Pastor Kay. And I think we're pretty well set to go. Folks have volunteered, right, Larry? All the slots are full? Is that right?
We have one opening for children's time.
One openings for children's moments. Other than that, you've all stepped up as I knew you would. I knew you would. I have every confidence in you all. So if you do have other questions, come and talk to me or anybody on the church council. Larry would love to answer your questions. Wouldn't you, Larry? Sure. Yeah. And if you don't have answers, we'll find them, right? I love you all, and I will miss you, and I will see you in September. Amen.